y'all. Welcome back to the Let's Talk About Things podcast. This is episode number 3. And I'm just going to start things off and ask Lacey a little question because it's something I've been thinking about. What is something that God's been working on with you lately? Like, what's something you feel like He's working on in you? Just a fun starter question.
Ooh. I honestly, that's kind of tough. Every day there's something new that He's working on. I'm learning every day from Him. But probably the biggest one right now would be learning to just take everything as it is. And that's kind of a generic way, but almost as not, instead of reacting, it's more of just okay, that's how it is. Yes, God, what are you trying to teach me?
Going with the flow.
Yeah, I guess there's not really a term for it.
Yeah, I kind of came right out of the gate with a really crazy question.
Well, I was trying to think of the last few weeks, and I'm like, literally everything has just been any scenario, good or bad. If it's something I didn't expect, if it's something that I prepared really hard for and I worked really hard at work or whatever, if it's a good and bad situation, I go, okay, whatever you want me to do. It's just an okay.
Because on this podcast, we preach about self-reflection a lot. So, every now and then I try to think to myself, okay, what's God working on me with? That's not English at all. What is God working on in me or through me? And so that's just something that's been on my mind lately since we're doing this podcast and doing a lot of self-reflection. So I just thought I'd ask what God is working on you as far as your life. For me, other than being a mom, just learning to slow down. I feel like God's asking me to learn to slow down, learn to just stop trying to be productive all the time and just slow down, enjoy life. You don't always have to be doing something. So I feel like that's something He's working on me with. So if you're listening, maybe ask yourself the same question. What's God working on you? I can't speak English today. What is God working on in you? And if you feel like you don't have an answer to that, maybe try to find one. Talk to God about it. What's He working on? So today, our topic is cycle syncing. If you're watching this, you probably already know we're talking about cycle syncing, and some of you may be asking, what in the world is that? This podcast may be targeted more towards the ladies because when we say cycle, we do mean menstrual cycle. Yes, we're getting into it.
But men could always participate.
Absolutely.
I'll give you some advice. If men are watching this, if you have a wife, you have a girlfriend, whatever situation, you might want to know this information because it will actually be very helpful on how you respond to your wife or girlfriend when she's going through her cycles.
We told y'all we would not just be talking about Christian topics on this podcast. We would get into health, we would get into fitness,
nutrition.
Anything we've gone through, anything we've learned, experienced, nutrition.
Yep.
So we are getting into it. So men, if you're squeamish, if this doesn't pertain to you, that's okay. Come back next week. We might have something for you. But ladies, if you've heard of cycle syncing, great. Maybe you'll learn something new. If you haven't, you're kind of in the same boat as me. I hear Lacey talk about it. I know what it is generally, but I've never really practiced it myself. And so I'm going to be learning as much as y'all are today. Lacey's kind of our resident cycle syncing expert. So if I remember right, Lacey, you started cycle syncing right after our bodybuilding competition. That's my memory of it. Do you remember how you found out about it or where you learned what it even was?
Yeah, to be completely honest, around that time, my menstrual cycle was kind of going in waves. I was trying to, I had just recently got off birth control, and I know with a lot of women out there, we're struggling with birth control. I know you were on it for a while too. And
12 years.
But I kind of said there's got to be another solution to this. We cannot just be stuck on birth control for the rest of our lives. So I did some digging, I did some research, and anything I do is either Google Scholar or peer-reviewed articles. I wanted to know why my body was so resistant and why it wasn't getting regular per se.
Because what I remember is when we were competing for bodybuilding. So, okay, for those of you that don't know, teeny weeny little bit of information about bodybuilding. Your whole goal is to lean down, lose water weight, be as lean as humanly possible to see all the cuts of muscle, all the different things, right? Well, Lacey's body, for some reason, was not responding to the diet and program very well. She was following it to a T. She wasn't cheating on it. She wasn't eating anything she wasn't supposed to, but something wasn't working. Her body was holding a lot of water. It was holding just puffiness that was strange. And so I think this is when she started exploring, like, what is going on? Because I'm doing everything right, diet and exercise wise. What's not cooperating? And I think that's when she started looking at her hormones and her cycle and discovering cycle syncing. Unfortunately, she didn't figure that out until after the competition, so she wasn't able to, figure that out beforehand. But that's when I remember you starting to talk about it. And when I first heard it, I was like, that sounds weird. I've never heard of that. But now that I've listened to you talk about it, it really makes sense. So if you could sum up cycle syncing in like 2 or 3 sentences, how would you define it?
Plan your nutrition and your exercise around what phase you are in each month.
Of your menstrual cycle?
Of your menstrual cycle. There's 4 phases. But during that time, also, we'll talk about this in another podcast, but I did a lot of blood work around that time that I competed to see what was wrong with my gluten, my dairy, a lot of my allergy sensitive things. We'll talk about that in another one, but just for hormone purposes, first off, ladies, it's not your fault, it's your hormones, okay? It is not your fault. A lot of times what happens, and a lot of women that might be listening to this that have PCOS, endometriosis, you have ovarian cysts.
All of this runs in our family, so we're with you. We hear it.
Anything like that that's going on medically, please keep in mind, I am not a doctor. Again, take this advice with a grain of salt. This is just stuff that I have experimented on myself with, and I've tried. You go out and you try things, and I mean, I'm being serious. I'm not saying go out and be reckless. I'm saying try something different. If something hasn't been working, try something. But briefly, with your menstrual cycle, we're taught our entire lives, you have a period for about 7 days, some women longer, some women shorter. It just depends.
And most people think that's my menstrual cycle. So is it not 7 days? How long is a menstrual cycle?
Each woman is different. There is no set number. They give a relative range of 28 days, 31 days till your next cycle, that kind of stuff. But the reason why I think this is not spoken about enough for women is because it's very complex. And I'll do my best to not essentially dumb it down, but to keep it simple.
I'll make sure she dumbs it down so I understand it.
So in your cycle, you have, if you look at it in a circle or a pie chart, whatever you want to talk about, you've got your...
We need a whiteboard.
I know we do, but you have your menstruation, and then you go into follicular phase, is what they call it, your follicular phase, and then you go into your ovulation phase, then your luteal phase, and back to menstruation. So it's all a little circle.
So there's 4 phases.
4 phases in your entire month cycle. So men, if you're watching this and you're like, man, she really gets cranky around this time of the month, she might be in her luteal phase. I'll break it down as best I can. I'm not going to get into it too much because it is too much.
So imagine a circle, and you cut it into 4 equal pieces. So like a pie, there's 4 pieces of this pie. Each piece is a different phase of the cycle, and it just goes round and round and round every single month.
We can even dub in a picture if we can. Just dub in a picture right here, and I'll send her the one that I used.
Y'all are probably looking at it as we speak.
Yes, but for those that are also just listening on Apple or Spotify, think of a pie chart and think of you starting at the top of it, and you're in your menstrual, which is about 7 days. Every woman's different.
That is your period.
I'm giving you a relative time frame just to be general here, okay? But let's say it's 7 days, and then you go into your follicular phase, which is usually around, they say, according to what they've said, it's usually around 10 to 12, 10 to 15 days. Every woman's different, okay? But then you go into your ovulation. Some people and some gynecologists have said that it's a day. Some people have said that it's a few days. I personally have experienced a few days of ovulation. I experienced maybe 4 to 5 days.
I'm the same way.
And then it goes into your last phase before you bleed again, is your luteal phase. And that's what they kind of call like the worst phase. Other than, yes, bleeding is the worst. Your luteal phase is when one of your hormones, progesterone, just drops. And that's why a lot of women tend to report feeling kind of tired, sluggish. Maybe their breasts might get a little tender. Sometimes they get a little irritable. But essentially, if we stick back to that chart, so usually when you're bleeding, okay, obviously we've got the cramps, we've got the headaches. Some women, especially with endometriosis or PCOS, they are in unbearable pain. There's a lot of bloating. There's a lot of cravings going on. Well, then you enter your follicular phase. So I'm going to start that way, okay? I'm going clockwise. But let's go to the follicular phase. The follicular phase is the best phase. That is when our estradiol increases, our progesterone goes back to normal, and you feel better. As a lot of women can also report having better energy in the gym. And I'll get to that in a second. But the follicular phase is going to be when you kind of feel a little bit better. You're starting to get back up there with your hormones, and you're either eating a little bit differently, or you're not craving as much anymore. Your bloating has gone away. Your skin's getting clear again. This is a good phase. We like the follicular phase.
This is like the farthest away from your period in the phases. No,
because you have your menstrual cycle first at the top of the circle, if you will.
Okay, so you're having your period.
And then you go clockwise. So now we're going follicular.
Oh, so it's right after your period. You're feeling pretty good.
And then those for about 10 to 15 days.
Okay.
And then you go into, so follicular phase is good, but I'm going to reference some of the documents I've just pulled up over the years. These are really old notes, but usually in the follicular phase, your luteinizing hormone, which is just basically the regulation of your ovarian and, for men, testicular functions. Okay, so that's just basically what that hormone means, or I'm sorry, estradiol. So you have your estradiol. That's going to go way up when you're in your follicular phase. That's what's going to make you feel better again. You're going to feel happy. It's like, yes, follicular. Okay, I'm done with my period. Yay. But then it's going to drop, and now you're going to get into the ovulation a little bit. And some women have reported to feel the libido a little bit. You're feeling a little more frisky.
That's how you procreate.
That's exactly where it's the optimal time to get pregnant.
Fertile.
You can get pregnant in any phase, ladies, but with ovulation, that is the time that most gynecologists would say, hey, try to get pregnant.
Men,
this is your time.
This is where it's interesting for you, because this is where she's probably most receptive to your advances.
And I misspoke. I meant to say that in the follicular phase, your estradiol goes back up, but then in the ovulation phase, your luteinizing hormone goes skyrocket. It goes way up, so it causes you to get risky.
Yeah, your libido increases.
Yeah. But
what it is.
That increases, and then your progesterone kind of stays at this just steady kind of incline. It just kind of keeps itself steady. Nothing really changes with that one. But during ovulation, a lot of times, because yes, you are dealing with a lot of ovarian release, and you're going through this is when you start to feel, yes, a little frisky, but not much to it other than this is an optimal time to get pregnant. A lot of it has to do with your eggs and the sperm and that perfect time. I haven't really researched it too much, but ovulation only lasts, from general term, about 4 to 5 days, sometimes maybe less for everybody. Okay?
I can say that for me, I think it's about 2 or 3 days, because I remember when we were trying to get pregnant with my daughter, it had been about 6 months with no luck, and we were starting to get a little concerned that nothing had happened yet. So we went and had my ovaries, had an ultrasound on my ovaries, and the ultrasound tech, I forget what the technical term for their profession is. I apologize if I'm butchering your title, if that's what you do. But she was able to look at my ovaries, and she was able to tell me, okay, you're ovulating. Your peak fertility is on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Those are the 3 days that you and your husband want to make sure you're trying your best, because that's when you're most likely to conceive. And sure enough, she was right. We conceived, and my daughter is now 6 months old. So for me, I think it was about a period of 3 days. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. And some people might be asking, okay, hold on, back up. How do I even know what phase I'm in?
Okay, so with that, because I struggle with that, my menstruation was not always regular. It happens, and I'm sure a lot of women are like, look, I don't even remember the last time I had one, if you're on birth control. I will say this, I don't say to, if you are active, I'm not saying to ever not practice safe or be on any type of birth control, anything like that. But at that time, when I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me and I was bloating and just could not figure it out, I got off birth control for good. I have not touched it in 3 years. We're good, never going back. But once I got off the birth control, my hormones at this point, when you take something out of it that has been put into your body for a long period of time, your body's trying to regulate and it's trying to get to a level where it's trying to get back to normal, quote unquote.
It takes about 3 months.
Well, even longer for some people. But for an example, when I did that, I noticed that I was spotting here and there, like most women will do, but finally, after about 4 to 6 months, I would say I started to finally have a real period again. It started to kind of come back. A lot of my cystic acne went away. A lot of the kind of tiredness and grogginess went away. But once I got off of it, I noticed just my mood got so much better. I wasn't always tired. And I feel women get told a lot of times, oh, well, you just need to take your birth control, you need to go do this. Sometimes it's actually hurting you, ladies, and I thought something was wrong with me because all I wanted to do was sleep, and that's not like me. I love being outside. I like to do things.
And some of you may be on birth control and you don't have a period. That was the case for me. I was sadly on birth control for 12 years, which we're not going to get into the pitfalls and ups and downs of birth control. That's a whole podcast in and of itself. But
yeah, we can get into that.
Number one, no one needs to be on birth control that long, but that's a whole other saga.
Well, it's not, if you look at the dawn of time, that's not how our bodies were designed. But
no, so if you're on birth control and you don't have a period, you may not be able to track this. That's kind of the hard part here, is this may not be something everyone can utilize. You may, even if you're not on birth control, maybe you have polycystic ovarian syndrome and your periods are all over the place. Maybe you have endometriosis and they're all over the place. I don't know your situation, but assuming you have a fairly regular cycle syncing is a really cool thing to look at, and that's kind of what we're talking about today.
Well, and it's hard, y'all. It's hard to pinpoint this huge topic to one single thing because every single woman is different, and every one of y'all have gone through something in your own way. I'm just giving a general term. If you can get off birth control, or you're currently getting off it, or like she said, you've been on it for so long you don't remember the last time you had a period, you're dealing with medical issues like endometriosis, all the things. What I'm trying to get at relatively is just focusing on what's actually happening regardless, just because we are females biologically. So like I was saying, we're in ovulation. That's the optimum time to conceive, yes. But also some women have reported to, and this actually goes back to evolution. It's a little fun fact. When in the wild, when animals, especially the males, try to procreate, they will sometimes sniff and do certain things to see if she's even ovulating. And a lot of times if you look at, how do I say this without being weird?
Hey, we're putting it all out there. We promised we'd be real with y'all.
Yes, but
we're trying not to be disgusting.
I'm just trying to also keep it.
She's trying to be polite.
A lot of times when you're figuring this out, and I will be completely honest with y'all, don't become scared or uncomfortable of looking at your discharge. That is something a lot of gynecologists will tell you as well. I'm just saying this is something that I completely avoided because I thought people were telling me the wrong thing, but your discharge can tell you a lot, okay?
It tells you
during
everything.
Ovulation, during each phase, it should be a certain consistency or color, okay? And I'm just being real here. So
I'm just rolling with it.
A lot of times when you're in your follicular phase, you just got off of your period, your body's still trying to kind of repair itself. You just shedded the lining of your uterus. Your uterus.
I think we've lost all male listeners.
Sorry, that's what's going to happen. But in your ovulation, sometimes you actually tend to have a consistency that's more slippery. It can have a certain texture, it can have a certain color, it just does. But that signals a lot of time in the wild to procreate. A lot of times that's how males tell if a woman is ovulating so that he can then pass on his genes. That's just in the wild. But for women, if you're kind of like, man, I really don't know, Lacey, I'm moody all through the month, or I'm doing this all through the month. Okay, well then maybe look at the birth control you're on, or if you're trying to get off it, let your body regulate. Be patient with your body while it's regulating. But in each phase, try to look at this. It helps so much more than you realize. So once you're in your ovulation, not much happens there. At least I haven't done extensive research into it, and I'm not going to lie. So once you get through ovulation, now we're going into the luteal phase. So now we're completing the circle. The luteal phase is closing that left side of the circle.
This is before your period starts
again. Before your period starts again. And this is when a lot of women have reported to feel groggy, moody, breast tenderness.
It's worse than your period.
It's awful. You just feel kind of like you're almost in a phase. You're in a fog.
You feel
and
crazy.
A lot of times you're not as focused. You want to sleep more. Yes, you can be more irritable. But then sometimes breast tenderness, sometimes cramping. You can feel cramping in this phase. You really can. Back pain, anything like that. Your acne might get increased, or you might have acne on your forehead, certain parts where hormones are easily targeted.
It's the buildup.
But you do tend to get a little bit more bloated. Some women have reported. So during this phase, once you get there, that is when the progesterone tends to increase and then drop. So right before it gets to your period, it'll drop. But the progesterone is what's causing you to kind of feel a little tired, a little moody. Sometimes with the birth controls, they'll prescribe it based off of your symptoms. If you need more estradiol, if you need more progesterone. But now that you've seen the bigger picture of the circle, you have your menstruation, then you go into your follicular, then you get ovulation, and then you complete it with your luteal phase. Be okay, or not be okay, but being kind to yourself during the luteal phase. You're not supposed to feel good. Your body is about to prepare to shed its lining, okay? But now getting into the things, because I don't want to drag this on, you get the concept. What I'd like to point out is, in each phase, I've learned there's stuff you can be eating, and there's a way to work out in each phase that will help you not only manage your symptoms like PCOS or endometriosis or ovarian cysts, but also it'll help you lose weight, keep the weight off, clear your skin, kind of flush out that excess hormone and excess cortisol, and you will see massive changes.
This is where, ladies, we are not like men.
Exactly.
Men can work out and eat the same way every single day of their life, and nothing changes. Women, if we work against our bodily systems, it's going to backfire. It's going to show. It's going to backfire. This is where we can't just push through and be tough just like men. We have to work with our bodies, not against them, or we're doing more harm than good. And that's the whole point of this, is to educate y'all on how to do that.
Yeah. So with this, these are just notes I've taken over the years, y'all. I've got a piece of paper in front of me. These are things I've learned and tried, and you are free to try it however you want, okay? But I'm just going to be real with you. So let's start with the menstrual phase. You're bleeding, you feel awful, you're tired, you're in a lot of pain, you probably are puffy, you've got acne, all the things, okay? What you should focus on eating during this phase are your leafy greens, your berries, your iron-rich foods, because you're losing a lot of blood.
Not chocolate?
Yes, chocolate, yes, but try to keep it dark chocolate.
Okay.
And ladies, lower the sugar. I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about sugar later, but keep the sugar to a minimum. You can do dark chocolate, but try to stick to your leafy greens, your iron-rich foods, stuff that's going to replenish while your body is bleeding.
So when you're bleeding, there's iron in your blood, right? So you're losing iron during your period. Most of you may know that. When you're bleeding, you're losing iron. So you want to be taking in iron-rich foods. You want to be replenishing what's being depleted.
Yes, and this is also where you want to take in a high quality protein, some magnesium, and even, y'all, I'm crazy about these, are soups. Good nourishing soups, okay? Like your bone broths, and get some fresh, good grass-fed beef or whatever you're using. This is when you need to try to nurture your body, because obviously it's hurting. But what's really important in this phase, and I can't stress this enough because I was doing it wrong, the exercise portion of this. Try your best to, if not at all, because I'll be honest with you, when it's my time, when it's menstruation, for me, I don't work out. I go on walks, or I do a ton of stretching. I'll just stretch on my floor, maybe watching my favorite show. I will just do really slow movements, try to just open up the hips a little bit more, get some of that just honestly get that pain away a little bit.
So what if a woman says, well, I don't want to not work out. I don't want to be a pansy. I don't want to be weak.
Then you can do some yoga. You can do light Pilates. A lot of times it's okay, and we're taught in our culture to hustle, keep working out. Don't forget to lift weights. But as females, we're different. If you try to force yourself to work out when your body is literally telling you, I'm exhausted, I need rest, please stop. Like I said, walk on the treadmill, walk outside with your pets, do some light stretching.
We're not men.
Maybe even sit in a sauna. That's great for you as well. But try your best when your body is literally trying to get rid of bleeding. It's trying to cleanse out something. Try to take care of it, okay?
This was hard for me to understand because I am I can do whatever a man can do type of person. Well, I had to learn we're built different, and that's okay. Men aren't having to go through what we're having to go through, so we have to operate differently in order to function well, and that's okay. And I had to learn that.
Well, and also another thing you can do is body weight exercises. So try to stick to doing slow movements here. Don't try to do power hit exercises, okay? It is okay for your time when you are bleeding to take a break, okay? So don't be hard on yourself with that. Your cortisol levels are high. You're just going to be tired in this phase. But a lot of the holistic medicine that I've practiced and just things that have worked for me, okay? I love my spearmint tea, raspberry leaf tea. Try to take in some ginger or again magnesium. I take that every night, but this is where your nervous system needs regulation. So a lot of those nighttime teas, I do spearmint tea and raspberry leaf tea at least during this phase, at least at night. In the morning I do a lot of either like the marshmallow root for detox, and you've got some detox teas out there, but y'all be careful. Just look at the ingredients. Try to nourish your body during this time.
Raspberry leaf tea is very, very good for the health of your uterus. They recommended it to me when I was pregnant. So it's very, very good for uterine health in general.
Yes, and again, a lot of this you can get off of social media, I'm sure, but you can look into getting your vitamin C in. A lot of times I've read that I might mispronounce this. I have not tried this yet, but this is something I pulled off of another woman who had endometriosis, and she was struggling to lose weight, but she finally did it by cycle syncing and regulating her hormones. So one thing she recommended, and I have not gotten into this, is saffron, I don't want to mispronounce this, ginkgo, biloba, something like that. She did a lot of acupuncture and omega-3s and 6, but also with a lot of the pressure points and releasing some of that cortisol in your face. That's all well and good too. So those are just practices that I've pulled from somebody else. Do with it what you will.
It sounds like during your period, we're almost supposed to treat our body like we're sick.
Yes.
Like
So gentlemen, if you're still with us, men, be nice to your ladies, okay? And also buy them some dark chocolate. I recommend the Hue brand. It's my favorite.
Oh, that one's good.
But try to be nice to us. We're not trying to be this way. It's literally our hormones. But moving on now, going into the follicular phase. So now you've been through your period, you've kind of getting over it now, 7 days, however long it is. Now you're in your follicular phase. So your period has stopped, and now you're starting to feel a little bit more like yourself. Maybe your acne is starting to go away, your breast tenderness has lessened, your bloating has gone away. I love that part because I feel like I can see my abs. I feel good, snatched in the gym. But a lot of times what I ate in this phase were fermented foods, seeds, even like chia seeds. I love my chia seeds, y'all. Lentils, some complex carbohydrates. So we're talking high in fiber here, y'all.
Good carbs.
Good carbs.
Not pasta.
No, but even if you are a pasta nerd, you can do lentil. You can do anything that's gluten-free. Healthy fats, and again, like you need your BMR to be a little bit lower here, but with some of these, you need a lot of almost like gut healing again, and you need to just kind of get that fiber back in your diet, get some things moving. One of my favorite fiber foods is edamame. I love edamame. You can get a lot of that from
I think you already said chia seeds, but chia seeds are very high in fiber. Don't take too much because you can end up in the bathroom more than you'd want to be.
I make a lot of my own homemade jam, y'all, and instead of using a gelatin as the thickening agent, you can always put chia seeds in there, let it sit overnight, and then once, at least if you do sourdough bread or gluten-free bread like we do, spread that on there in the morning, and it's a really good, gut-friendly, good nutrient-dense food. If you're not a fan of jam, then you can do chia pudding and do that in some Greek yogurt.
I've been eating my weight in chia seed pudding, y'all.
Yeah.
It's easy. There's a million Pinterest recipes for that.
So those are all great. Again, it says lentils. I wrote down in there fermented foods. Sauerkraut is another one as well. Try to get these probiotics back in your body, okay? So
did your period deplete good bacteria from your body? Does it like take nutrients out? I guess it's taking iron out.
It's not necessarily taking anything, but your body just went through a lot of stress, and regardless of the bleeding portion, your hormones are still fighting. Your hormones are still secreting from the pituitary gland, but a lot of the cortisol has increased and you're exhausted. But once you finish your period and you get back into the follicular phase, these are all just suggestions.
And cortisol hurts your gut microbiome, all the good bacteria that's going on.
So we want to replenish it. You can even do kombucha here or whatever. I always get some type of high quality protein in every phase. That's just something personally that's worked for me. You don't have to do that all the time, but I continue to get my protein as you should. Healthy fats, get some avocados in there, even some cashews, whatever you can. But for the workouts, this is where, ladies, this is my favorite time. This is where you can get your deadlifts in, your weight training again. You can go on runs, you can do jogs.
So you're strong in this
Yes, you're strong in this phase. You have a higher volume of energy. You can do Pilates as well, but you can do like hot Pilates or something fun. This is the phase where you kind of almost come out of the slums a little bit and you're ready to go. So this is the fun phase. F for fun, follicular fun. There you go. But then for the holistic medicine I've just seen over the years, and I will say this is in every phase, so magnesium. Get magnesium in your diet. I take the brand that I have, I take 2 at night, and I sleep so much better than I ever have. But magnesium is one of the most vital minerals you need.
And there are different types, y'all, but we kind of like magnesium glycinate. That's the one
do not
prefer.
Do citrate.
Yeah, there's some that'll make you,
citrate.
You know, what's a nice word for crap yourself? Well, I just said it. Crap yourself.
And you can do bike rides here. You can do dumbbells, all the good things. So this is the fun phase. You're starting to feel better. You're starting to feel a little bit more like yourself. Moving on to ovulation. So this phase is still kind of like follicular. You're not feeling bad per se. But in this phase, you should be eating.
Priorities are different.
Yes, you should be eating, or at least what's worked for me, is bell peppers, Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. Try not to get too caught up here on the food necessarily. It's not, oh, you can only eat it in this phase of the month. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying try to experiment with different types of veggies throughout the month. And I do a lot of asparagus, avocados continue. You can still, this is still an okay phase. You're not exactly trying to replenish or take away. For the workouts, same thing. You can still do heavy weightlifting. You can do your running, your HIIT training, your Pilates, kickboxing, whatever you do. Okay, you can still continue to do it. The follicular phase and the ovulation phase are like buddies. You can still kind of do it, but in the ovulation phase, your libido increases. So now you might be a little...
There's different forms of exercise.
So men, figure out what phase that is for your wife or girlfriend.
That's why I say men might want to tune in.
But a lot of the holistic medicine that I've seen here is more so like magnesium, acupuncture again, nervous system regulation, a lot of warmth. But
I am a fan of acupuncture.
Yeah, and I'm not too familiar with that, but one thing I always keep in every phase is my teas. I love my herbal teas. I'll switch it up with green teas, ginger and lemon. I try my best to make sure I get my teas. I don't do caffeine anymore.
I noticed. It sounds like you said no
I don't do caffeine anymore because personally that spiked my cortisol. I held on to a lot of water weight like that, and it just did not work for me. But these are just suggestions that I've tried and written over the years.
Everyone's biology is different. Everyone's going to react different to different foods. Everyone's got different food allergies. So it takes a little bit of trial and error. These are just general
fresh
rules.
Foods, and continue with the fiber in this phase are very important. You can also do eggs, pasture-raised eggs. You can get the choline from the eggs. So vitamin C rich foods here. You're still, the follicular phase and the ovulation phase, they go hand in hand. But then we're going into our luteal phase. This is the phase that you, at least personally, I've thought I'm the ugliest human. In this phase, it tricks you. Your hormones try to tell you you're ugly, you're fat, here's this acne that you didn't expect, your breasts are tender. This phase is the worst, in my opinion.
You think you're crazy, because your mind is playing tricks on you.
Well, the follicular phase, the luteal phase actually lasts for a big chunk of the month. It should be around 15 days. So that's why you kind of feel like, man, is there something wrong with me? Why do I feel like this? Check your hormones. Check to see what time of the month it is, and try to. I have an app I'll share with you guys.
Ladies, if you're sitting there and it's not your period yet, but it's almost your period, and you're looking at your boyfriend or your husband and going, man, I know he hasn't done anything, but I'm mad at him. And I don't know why. So I'm going to invent a reason to be mad. And the crazy starts to creep in. You might be in your luteal phase.
And keep in mind, the luteal phase is different for everybody. People can have it for 10 days. They can have it for 12, 13. But generally, it's around 10 to 15 days. And if you start to feel like, man, what is going on with me? I'm so tired. Why am I snipping at everybody? Why am I so irritable? You're probably in your luteal phase. Your progesterone is rising a little bit, and it's about to crash. And that's not always the good hormone, okay? So be kind to yourself during this. But here's some things I've just kind of done. Again, same thing. Still continue with the protein. That is just my personal thing. I love my protein, but try to get cruciferous vegetables in there. Some complex carbs again. You can. What is
a cruciferous vegetable?
You're looking at stuff that's like broccoli. Or asparagus and Brussels sprouts.
Stuff that makes you gassy.
A little bit, but that's the fiber. That's the fiber part. Your body will regulate and it'll get used to it. And then you have your vitamin B rich foods, and avoid processed foods in this phase. Please avoid trying to eat out or trying to consume a bunch of carbs like breads, pasta, because your body in this phase is already fighting off really stressful hormones. You don't need to be adding any unhealthiness, and especially sugar to this, y'all. Try your best. And a lot of women report, I'm not even hungry in this phase. That's probably normal. If you are consuming everything in the fridge like myself, you're probably about to start. There's little things you can pick up on and look at just over the months. Y'all, this took me 3 years, okay? I am still learning every single day what works for my body and what doesn't. But when I start to feel a certain way, I go to my app that tracks a lot of things, and it tells me what I should be eating and what I should be doing in each phase. And I go to that and I go, that makes sense.
That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you're kind of type A organized like me, and a lot of this is overwhelming, what apps are out there to track all of this? Because some of this might be like crazy.
Some of it is stuff that you might have to get a subscription to, but the one I use is called Lively.
Lively.
Yep, just Lively, and I did pay for the year, but it'll tell you, hi Lacey, it's cycle day, whatever you're on, and then it'll say your period is in this many days. It literally tells you, but then it says, here's what you should be eating during this phase, and here is how you should be working out. It'll even tell you when I go to, I love this app, y'all. When I go, it says you can do a craft night, creative workshop, take breaks, focus on a routine, personal growth, evaluate your progress, tidy up. It gives you tips to do, and then when you go to eat, it'll say pumpkins, bananas, you can do chickpeas here, you can do your bell peppers, hydrate, salmon, papaya, sweet potatoes. So again, your complex carbs, stick to your vitamin B rich foods here, and then it'll even tell you in terms of move, it calls it move, but it's working out. You can do swimming here, you can do yoga, outdoor trails, reformer Pilates, walking, tennis, running, climbing. I mean, it's all things that you don't want to stress your body out too much, but in this phase, you still want to make sure you're doing low intensity, some yoga, stretching, because again, you're about to start bleeding. I'm not saying to stop, I'm saying start to slow your body down. When you're, like for example, when I'm in the gym and I know I'm in my luteal phase, I do not touch the weights unless I know, okay, I can do a quick arm workout. I can do a nice simple back workout, but ladies, I do grab the bands and I'll work on band work and I'll do slow controlled movements. I can't tell you how much that has helped my bloating when I know what each phase I'm in, and I'm able to say, okay, I'm in my follicular phase, I'm about to go hit the deadlift, I'm about to go bench, I'm about to go hit every single dumbbell. And then I'm going into my ovulation and I go, okay, I'm gonna still hit the deadlifts. I'm still gonna hit the weights a little bit. I'm not gonna sit in the gym for 2 hours or even an hour. But then in my luteal phase, I am kind to my body because she is not happy during this phase. I'm irritable. I might be a little bit more hungry than usual, but I always go to the corner of the gym on the turf and I just grab my bands. I put my headphones on. I listen to my music or podcasts and I just slowly move my hips. I slowly move my arms. I use sometimes just some ab workouts and I control that pelvic floor. A lot of times I'll sit in the sauna we have at the gym. Be kind to your body during this phase because it's about to start bleeding. And like I said, I do not work out when I menstruate. That is me personally because my body is trying to rest. But I do stretch. I do tend to just do a little bit of hip movements. I do try to get my body just somewhat moving. There's exercises I'm still figuring out, y'all. I'm not saying I'm perfect.
I used to get so frustrated, y'all, because I did a lot of, deadlifting and trying to hit your personal records and all these amazing strength things, and women are powerful, y'all. We are strong.
The fact that we can do all this,
we're not saying, hey, just because you're a woman, you need to not do all of that. No, absolutely not. Women are powerful. Women are strong, and that's amazing. But you're going to be even stronger if you start working with your body. Because I used to get so frustrated. There would be weeks where I'm like, I am the Hulk. I can lift a building, and I felt fantastic. I was probably in my follicular phase or ovulation maybe, but then there would be weeks where I'm like, what is wrong with me? I can't lift a pencil off the ground. And I was probably in my luteal or menstruating, something like that. And if I had known that back then, I would have been a little bit kinder to myself. I wouldn't have thought, oh man, I'm just having a really crappy day in the gym. I'm not working hard enough. You can give yourself a little more grace knowing, hey, my body's going through some stuff. This is totally normal. I'm female. This is what we do. So here's how I'm going to respond to that.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, the app is called Lively. It helped me out a lot. Sure, you do have to pay for it, but it's just once a year. You don't have to pay monthly. And I look at it as this helps me in the chaos of life sometimes because we lose track of our days, we lose track of our weeks, but these are just tips I really think women need to start learning sooner in life rather than when the problems arise. But again, I'm not saying to get off birth control. I am not saying to stop anything that you've been doing with your gynecologist.
Listen to your doctor.
Consult everything. But if you're tired of the way you're feeling and nothing else has been working like I did, I had to hit to a point where I said, okay, screw this, I'm going to figure it out myself. And once I did, I realized, oh my gosh, we're not listening to our bodies. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. But just try your best if you can. And if you do have a period, try your best to figure out when those days are. And remember, it goes menstruation, follicular, ovulation, luteal, back to menstruation.
Does sleep play a role at all, or should you just sleep well all the time if you can?
I mean, always, especially ladies, we actually do need more sleep than men. But in any phase, in your follicular phase, try to get at least 7 to 8 hours, if not 8 to 9. But especially in the luteal phase and your menstrual phase, rest is very key here. You don't want to overdo it because then your cortisol spikes, leading to holding on to that water weight, not causing you to lose weight in the gym while you're trying your best to burn it. I've seen a lot of women stress themselves out in the luteal phase by, sweating, burning calories, running on the treadmill, doing all these things, and I'm like, you're not helping your body. As a matter of fact, you're actually storing more fat now. I'm not going to get into that. But look at your cycles, y'all. Take a paper and pencil if you don't want to do the app. Try to track it yourself on your notes app, or say, okay, I bled for 7 days, and then obviously we know when our period stops. When it stops, say, okay, now I'm in my follicular phase. But then you say, well, Lacey, how do I know I'm in my ovulation phase if they're so similar? Y'all, I'm just going to keep it real here. Look at your discharge. That was a huge thing because it should be at least a slippery egg white
yolk
consistency. Look that up too, y'all. But look at that stuff. Look at how your body's responding. Don't get angry at yourself if you start to feel irritable or like you're off. If you start to go, man, I am really tired. I can't figure this out. What is going on? Why am I yelling at my husband? Why am I snipping at my friends? You're probably in your luteal phase. This is the phase that nobody wants to be in, because you don't feel pretty. You don't feel yourself. You don't want to necessarily lift as heavy in the gym, and women try to push through. You're not helping yourself. It's okay to grab a pair of bands, go into the corner, maybe grab some light dumbbells here, light kettlebells, whatever you do for your workout. Take a walk, go for a light jog. Don't try to overdo it in this phase.
So what if someone is sitting in my shoes and I am breastfeeding, so I don't have a period, and I won't until I'm done breastfeeding? What can I cycle sync, or am I just in a completely different realm at this point?
I think with pregnancy, or maybe or postpartum, whatever it has to do with being a mom and having a child, I have not done research on that enough because I'm not a mom yet. But I will say, just in terms of being a female, when you're a mom, your hormones will take 2 years after you have a baby to completely get back to quote unquote normal, okay? So be kinder to yourselves, one. But what you could do, if you're not experiencing a period and you're not really sure how to track it, go off of your mood and go off of some of your cravings, but also take a look at your body, your lower pelvic region. Is it a little bit more swollen? Do you have back pain? Are your breasts tender? I'm not sure how it works with breastfeeding, but as a mom, I would probably start off doing lighter things. Don't try to go 0 to 100 in the gym, y'all, but just try to take it easy. And then once you get into a routine, and let's say some week you're feeling good, you're like, okay, I'm gonna just clock that for now as the follicular phase and see if that works. But also talk to your doctor. I'm not saying to go ahead and just hurt yourself, but if you start to figure out and listen to your body, I am telling you from personal experience, you will see better results in the gym and in your overall health, your sleep, your skin, your hormone regulation than you've ever seen before.
What I can offer to any mom that might be breastfeeding and you don't have a period, pregnancy is a whole other thing, so I won't get into that because that is so unique to each woman. But if you're breastfeeding, you don't have a period because your estrogen levels are at an all-time low. Your body is purposely trying to keep you from getting pregnant, because the second you're pregnant, your milk production is probably going to be cut off. So your body wants to keep feeding your baby, so it doesn't want you to get pregnant. So it's shifted your hormones in such a way to where basically your body thinks it's in menopause almost. Mm-hmm. So you're probably moody a lot. You're probably, if in my case, extremely hungry all the time. Breastfeeding burns a ton of calories. Oh, yeah. So the only advice I can really offer is don't not eat enough because you think you're eating too much. Eat a lot. Eat whatever your body needs, and eat nourishing foods.
Careful.
Whatever you
don't just go to McDonald's.
Yeah, no, don't just pound all the bad stuff, because whatever you're taking in, your baby's receiving it too. So.
And
that's my only advice for that.
With the mom thing, I wish I had more advice on that, y'all. I am still very much just me and my dog here. But the Lively app, I will say, and we can even attach, I don't know, a link to it at the bottom. Okay. But the Lively app does ask when you sign up for it, are you a mom? Have you had a kid? It'll ask these questions before you set up your cycle. It'll even say, have you had a cycle? Do you know if you've had one? It truly does it for you. But that app really does take the guesswork out of it, and I would highly recommend it. It's almost like buying a Sam's or a Costco membership. You pay for it just one time a year. You get to use it every single day, whatever you need, but it gives you a list of foods that I haven't even thought of in the store. It gives you a list of activities I didn't think of. It says to go to a park and write down, journal or something. I mean, it tells you to do these really cool things, and as a mom, I know your options are limited. It's different for everybody. If you have endometriosis, tell them that as well. It asks you, but try to get something to take the guesswork out of it. And if you're like, well, Lacey, I don't want to pay that. Okay, I'm sure there's another app out there. I have not found it yet.
Even if you don't want to do the app, at a bare minimum, get a paper calendar, and the next time your period hits, write down every day that you're bleeding. And once you've stopped bleeding, okay, you know you've just started your follicular phase. So just, write it down. And Lacey gave you general timelines. So, okay, you know your period because you're bleeding. You can track that. And then once you're done, that's the first day of your follicular phase. So you count, what was it, 10 to 12 days?
Usually, yes, sometimes 15. Every woman's different.
So just kind of mark on the calendar 10 to 15 days and write like possible follicular and just
or do it in different colors. If you're color coded,
colors, yeah,
color coding like me, that works too.
If you are broke as a joke, get it. We've been there and still go through that. Yeah. So if nothing else, just get a paper calendar or get on your calendar in your phone and try to track with number of days and track your mood, kind of keep a mood diary, even see like how you're feeling each day. And if your mood starts shifting, okay, maybe you're in your luteal phase. Just, it's gonna take several months to sort of figure out where you're at with all of this. But hopefully this helps you get through those phases better to where you don't feel like you're just failing at life or you're constantly, chasing your tail with everything. This hopefully gives you some good nutrition and exercise that you can work with your body, not against it. Some of you may have heard of this, some of you not. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. There's things I even continue to add to my shopping list or to my diet and my exercise plan that help. But the biggest change I saw, instead of trying to power through some of the phases where I just felt absolutely low and in pain, was to take a break, do some light Pilates, and I have never seen better figure forming, muscle building, whatever you want to call it, terminology. I just saw a lot of growth in a positive way. But one piece of advice I think I'll leave y'all with is, no matter what's going on in your life, endometriosis, PCOS, ovarian cysts, or maybe you're a mom, you're trying to figure it out, you're on birth control, whatever it is, try to at least set some sort of goal list for the first month. Try to put a goal list and a grocery list together to at least target that you need to get nutrient dense foods. That was the biggest thing for me, was getting herbal tea, focusing on my protein, focusing on my fiber and my healthy fats, my complex carbs,
pounding
focusing on those things. And that app, y'all, it helps tell you exactly what you need. I mean, it goes into chickpeas, it goes into salmon, it goes into legumes, all kinds of things that I would just highly recommend you check it out, look at it, whatever you want to do. But be kinder to yourself throughout your entire phase. And gentlemen, please, if you lasted this long, kudos to you. You're a rock star. But try to be kinder to your wife or your girlfriend. We're going through a lot. Our bodies are changing throughout the entire month. Yes, or daughter. But just be kinder to everybody. Be kinder to yourself. And
one thing,
make a list.
And one thing I would leave with, because I'm not the expert here, but one thing I looked into was, okay, biblically, where does this fit? And all that I would say is that cycles are as old as time. If you look at Genesis 8:22, it talks about how the natural world is governed by a divine order and stability. There is a cycle and a nature and a rhythm to the entire earth. That's how God designed it. So it makes sense that our bodies work in a rhythm, our bodies work in a cycle, and that's an awesome, awesome thing. That's how we're designed. And the other verse I'd leave you with is Ecclesiastes 3:1-2. That talks about the cyclical, parallel nature of life. So hopefully this was helpful to you all. I know it's overwhelming and we had to kind of talk really fast about a very broad, complex topic, but hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully you got enough research from us to go and do your own research, enough resources, enough tips. And this is something we can make into a series. If y'all are really that interested, we can
break it down into just talking about the follicular cycle, that just talking about menstruation.
We can get really nerdy with it, y'all.
I mean, we can really break it down because, y'all, again, it took me 3 years to figure this out. I will say, just try your best to experiment. I mean, I don't want to say do anything unsafe, but really just try new things, implement new habits, implement some of the lists of foods I just provided provided. Implement the new exercises I told you about as well. Just try it. You never know. It could change for the better, or you could be like, that's not for me. That's the whole point of it. But a lot of times doctors won't reveal to you a lot of this stuff because it doesn't involve spending money. So we can break it down. I tried not to overwhelm you, but this is such a broad topic, and there's so much research out there to support a lot of what I'm saying and a lot of what gynecologists are saying. Pick what's best for you. Give it a try new things, but also I just wanted to put a more broad term for all the ladies out there that are like, I can't figure this out. I can't get rid of this weight. I can't seem to gain weight. I can't seem to sleep well. Whatever your situation is, try to cycle sync. You might see a really big improvement on your life. Just saying.
It's the concept is in the term. Sync your nutrition and your exercise with your cycle, and you'll probably see, I know you'll see better results. And leave us some feedback, y'all. If this is something you're like, okay, it was like drinking through a fire hose, you hit with way too much, I need you to break it down. Let us know that. We could turn it into a series, like Lacey said, break it down into each part. Just leave us some feedback, let us know. Or maybe you've tried cycle syncing. Let us know how it worked for you.
Yeah, give us some advice, or leave other ladies and leave some advice in the comments of what you have done or exercises you've seen and how your hormones have regulated. Gentlemen, if you're in the comments as well, thank you for listening and respecting this. Please take this as seriously as possible. I mean, I know it's easy to giggle about it, but at the same time, your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, whomever, we're going through a lot each month, and every phase is different, but we appreciate your support. We appreciate you being kind. And ladies, don't use that as an excuse to be mean, but try to recognize each phase, try to recognize what you're in, and be communicative about it towards your partner, because this can help both parties. So this was a broad term, y'all, for cycle syncing. If in the future we can break it down, I would love to do that, but I just encourage you to try. To try it, see what it does, give it a few months, and let us know.
Yeah. And again, I'm shocked with how fast an hour went by. We just hit you with a ton of information, but we're so glad you came back. If you haven't checked out our previous episodes, please go do that. No matter what platform you're listening on, please make sure and subscribe. That way you're aware of when new episodes hit, and it really helps us out. It helps us know who's listening, what y'all are interested in. I hate sounding cliche, but like, comment, subscribe. That's kind of the phrase that everybody uses. It really helps us figure out what direction to go in, what we're doing well.
And I'll put the link to the Lively app below, and then we'll also attach a better picture of the cycle phase. That way you're not just sitting there going, what are they talking about? We'll attach that photo as well.
Yeah. So thank y'all for listening. We are looking forward to next week's topic, and we will see y'all then. Have a good one.